The Live Financially Savvy podcast was created by Atia, the savvy accountant. She is a CPA, CA, and certified financial educator instructor. She has a passion for building generational wealth and wants to help you and others to do the same. She's created the podcast to help others live financially savvy. Lower your debt and build your net worth using techniques you learned here from others doing amazing things to live financially savvy.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Live Financially Savvy podcast with Atia, aka the Savvy Accountant. And so on this episode, I'm going to dive into my personal debt story and just go a little bit deeper in my story and how I paid off my $32,000 of debt last year and just talk more about that. When I did the first episode and I talked about I was able to raise my score by 120 points in a year after I followed Tiffany, the Budgetistas program, and I was able to increase my savings, and then I was able to pay off debt. And I didn't really get into the debt part because that actually wasn't part of my goals for that year. So I wanted to kind of get into that on this episode. And so before I get into that, I just wanted to thank you guys for listening. I want you guys to reach out to me with any comments that you guys have. You guys can leave it on social media. You can email me at Atia at livefinanciallysavvy.com. I respond to all my messages. I try to get back to everybody. And so just let me know what you guys think about the podcast so far. Let me know what you think about the episodes. Let me know what you want to hear going forward. I'm really excited to get this information out there. And I just want to know if you guys are receiving it well. And so I just wanted to get your feedback. The podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Acast, TuneIn. We should be available on iHeartRadio pretty soon. And so I just wanted to get your feedback and hear what you guys think of the episodes. And so without further ado, I'm going to talk about my debt repayment plan. So just a little backstory. When I first started on my journey to get my finances in order and to start being intentional with my finances and living financially savvy, I set 3 financial goals for myself. So I mentioned that I started the Budgetistas program, and it was discussing credit. And so I had never really paid attention to my credit. And so when I finally checked my credit for that challenge, it wasn't too bad, I would say. It wasn't that bad, but I wanted it to be better because I was being intentional. And so I set a goal of increasing my score by 100 points. And so I wanted to be intentional by doing that. And so I was focused on removing any inquiries that shouldn't have been there, removing any items that shouldn't be there. And I kind of always paid my minimum balances on my credit cards, and my debt balance wasn't really a main focus of mine, to be honest. And I was paying the minimal balance. My score was going up. So to me, I was in a good situation. I didn't think I was struggling with my debt. I had a good job. I was paying my payments. I was raising my score. I was increasing my savings. I had a goal to increase my savings to 10% of my salary in addition to what I was saving with my contributions at work. And basically, I was able to be doing those stuff. So about midway through the year, I was on track. I was achieving my goals of what I set. And then it happened. There was a merger at my job, and my team was a pretty small team in the group that we were in. And so we weren't approved to hire a new body to take on this extra work. And so they need the 2 groups that merged were accounting and another area that the 2 CPAs in the group, we weren't familiar with that. So we basically had to hire somebody who dealt with that type of work that we were getting in addition to the work that we did. So with that said, my position was decided to be terminated. So after about 7 years working, I was let go. And so naturally, as you guys can imagine, it wasn't probably, it was very traumatizing. And it was kind of, you feel like you've given all your time and all your energy to this company and then they let you go. And so that's actually where I started looking at my debt, because before this, I would be paying the minimum and my score wasn't getting affected. So I really didn't think that it was a big deal. I thought I would get paid eventually. And I made money at my job that I would be able to pay it off if I ever needed to, type thing. So I wasn't really focused on a repayment plan, like a debt repayment plan, like I probably should have been. And so when I lost my job, that's when this debt was just staring me in the face. And I was kind of like, damn, I need to probably take care of this. And so after I talked about that I was able to pay off the $32,000 in debt in such a short period of time, people were asking me how. So I was getting messages about how I was able to do that so fast. So I was reading an article about being transparent when you're talking about stuff, and I thought I was being transparent, but I just wanted to put it out there. So I was let go from my job. And after working for this job, I was making a good salary, and it's a pretty big company. And so I was actually given a severance package. And so I made the conscious decision that the savings that I had saved, where I had made the goal to save 10% extra of my salary, and with my severance, I, along with my husband and my household, I decided that I didn't want this debt to carry forward with the next situation that we get into, because I would have to I was going to get a new job, of course. And I felt like, in my case, it was a blessing. I think my family is very blessed. We've moved states several times, and a lot of people don't get that opportunity. So while me losing my job was a blow, it wasn't the end of the world, as it definitely can be in some situations. So I do realize that I am blessed in the situation that I have, where me losing my job wasn't detrimental to my family. And on top of it, I was able to get that severance package. So in my situation, I had to take the extra savings that I saved, because that's what I decided to save. With my personal goal, I was trying to save that. And I didn't really have it allocated to anything. So I had my emergency fund that's been funded, and so that's fine. And so this was just me trying to give myself an aggressive goal to save based on a challenge that I had joined. And so I took my severance. I had made the decision to take my severance and my savings and pay off my debt. And so I created my budget, and I decided that I had to create my budget and stick to it. And so I cut out all the unnecessary things in my budget to create any extra room, because my severance did not come in for, I think it was like 3 months or something. So in that 3 months time, I paid down aggressively on my debt with the savings that I had by adjusting my budget. And then when my severance came in, I completely paid the rest of my debt off. And so I wanted to share this story because I read a quote about, when you are incurring bad debt, you are robbing your future self of their financial earnings, their money that they can be using in the future. And I probably, if I would have seen this quote years ago, I probably had seen it and never really paid attention to it. And this resonates so much with me now, because I actually saw that I robbed my future self. So I got that severance pay, and I had to use it to pay debt. I mean, I use the word had, used loosely, because that was my decision to do that. But I made that decision because I did not want to start with this chunk of debt. So what I decided was I was going to use my severance and pay this debt, but it was difficult for me to admit that and to have to do that to myself, because I worked many years for this company, and I think I deserved that severance. And I mean, they thought that too. That's why they offered it. But it's kind of like embarrassing to say that I got this great severance from my job and I have nothing to show for it now because I had to use it to pay debt that I probably did not need to incur. Not probably, I did not need to incur. So I did not need to incur that debt, and I did. And then I had to take my severance to pay it. And so now, I mean, fast forward, I have a new job and I'm doing fine. I'm doing well. So it wasn't something that was detrimental, but a financial goal that I have for myself now is, after being on this financial journey, living financially savvy, learning about increasing my revenue streams and my income streams, I want to have investment property. And I could have used that severance to be a down payment for my investment property. I could have been on that path already, and I'm not there yet so now I'm saving towards that goal. And I mean, I do understand that a lot of people aren't in the situation where they can save towards investment property. So I'm not trying to make it seem like my situation is horrible. I'm saying, but for my situation and what I wanted to do, I wasn't able to do it because I had literally robbed myself of that extra money that came in, and because of the debt that I incurred in the past for things. I mean, I know what I bought with it, but probably not worth what I should have bought. And because I bought it at the time, because I was like, oh, I could afford it, I'm just going to put it on my card because, for whatever reason, people put things on their credit when they probably shouldn't. So I decided to do that. And then I decided to use my severance to pay it off so that I would be free of it. And so now, like I've said, I am free of debt. I'm debt free. I paid off all my credit cards. I have no more credit card debt. And I'm actually technically extremely, completely debt free, because when we moved out of state this past December and we sold our house. So technically I have zero debt. But we're going to buy another house. So I'm not trying to imply that I'm going to be debt free forever. But so I'm going to have my mortgage once we buy a new house. But I just wanted to talk about my debt repayment plan and how I was able to pay off that $32,000. And so I basically put all the funds, any extra funds that I had, towards that debt, so that in my head, my plan was, when I get my new job and when I start, it's kind of like starting a new chapter when you get a new job, because we were moving out of state. So I was moving out of state. We sold our house. I basically was getting the chance to start over fresh. And so I wanted to do that with zero debt. And so that's why I threw all my funds to the debt so that I could pay it. Obviously, I know that I could have paid it. I could have created a more, I don't know if realistic's the word, but I could have created a different repayment plan where I would be repaying the debt maybe over 2 years, 3 years. But at the time, I got the extra inflow of cash. And like I've said before, my husband is very good with his finances. And so I kind of felt like it was the better thing for us to do. And so I say that to say it was a great thing that I was able to pay off my debt. But at the same time, me being irresponsible in the past robbed myself of that extra income that I got when I received my severance. And so I just wanted to be transparent about how I was able to pay off that $32,000 debt. And yeah, so that was the purpose of this episode, was basically just my debt repayment plan and how I was able to repay it. And I hope it has helped some people if they're considering putting a huge lump sum towards their debt so that they can start fresh. I just wanted to be clear that I created my healthy money menu and I stuck to it. I just basically made a conscious decision that I was not going to go further with this debt. And so I had said, I'm going to get rid of this debt within the 6 months that I had given myself to get another job. And so that's what I did. And so that's the story of how I paid off my $32,000 of debt. I just wanted to highlight that I was able to still increase my credit score, and I was able to save the extra savings that I wanted, but I ended up using that to my debt. But I am currently still aggressively saving for this year. And so I think that creating my budget and sticking to it allowed me to continue with my savings goal. And while I had to use it for that debt, I think that me starting over was a good decision for me. And I personally didn't want that debt, because I think that there's good debt and bad debt, and that debt was not good debt for me at all. It was not my mortgage. It was not anything that's giving me income, something that I created that's going to create income at the same time. So to me, that was bad debt, and I wanted to get rid of it, and that's how I chose to do it. And so that is how I paid off my $32,000 of debt. So I just wanted to come on and discuss that on this episode, and hopefully you guys can leave me any comments that you might have, and I look forward to hearing it from you. So again, you guys can follow me across social media as the Savvy Accountant. You can join the Live Financially Savvy group on Facebook, where I basically want people to be able to speak about their financial questions, anything that they're dealing with, any questions they have about debt, about investment, everything that they want to talk about how they can live financially savvy. I created that group so that they can just really talk about it and basically get their questions answered, and just have an accountability partner if they need one, where they are going through something and they want to discuss how to best tackle it. So that's the purpose of that group. So you can join the group. It's called Live Financially Savvy on Facebook. Or if you go to the website, you can get linked to go there. So there's a Facebook link and it'll take you there. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to hearing your comments. Thanks.
So I want to thank you for listening to the Live Financially Savvy podcast. You can hear the episode at livefinanciallysavvy.com, and you can get all the show notes at livefinanciallysavvy.com. You can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook at Live Financially Savvy. Let us know what you think. Please like, comment, and share, and rate and download wherever you listen to your podcast. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.